G.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, good job, boys.
Yeah, that was badass.
I said all of 3 words because I was the LPL representative at the time. But very happy that TR won.
Well, in this one, we are going to have you in the critical coach position here for casting.
Okay.
And you can lay it on FlyQuest, you know, either coaching staff. They were kind of tight-lipped in your interview that you did with them.
Yeah.
Didn't want to give away too much, did they?
Yeah, they really were. All they wanted to talk about is the fact that they both smacked me in scrim this week. But it was very entertaining. Oh, straight into it. The Lillia pick super early here for Cloud9.
Yeah, the Lillia early on. The bans, Nidalee, Renekton, and Yone banned out by FlyQuest. Aurora, Ezreal, and Callista banned out by C9. The first pick, Ashe, for FlyQuest, is the highest presence pick and ban champion in the LCS throughout the regular season so far.
Yeah, but Cloud9 last week tried to challenge us tank versus tank matchup. This week, it seems that they're happy to go carry versus carries. Jungle pretty much untouched apart from the Nidalee, which is very oppressive. So want to make sure that they have that aggressive pick here for Blaber.
And this is a huge discussion in the community, especially because Inspired has been kind of controversial, but him getting this label of CEO of Full Clear, do you feel like that is a reason why they want to put Blaber in this position, get Blaber the Lillia really early on, because they expect Inspired to do this sort of strategy where it's pretty free for the enemy jungler?
I mean, what we've seen is in fight-heavy regions like the LPL that Lillia has become very much the queen of the jungle. So I think that it's something that the LCS also likes to fight at the moment. So take the better skirmish jungler here. What's more interesting to me is the fact that FlyQuest hasn't responded with a jungle pick of their own. They're happy to take stronger lanes and make sure that maybe Inspired can get on one of those more full clear heavy junglers.
And I mean, it kind of makes sense. You've got the Ashe to try to track the Lillia a little bit better if Blaber does try to go aggro. And meanwhile, they seem to be thinking the same thing you guys were. You got to be ready for those Cloud9 lane dominant type of picks, ready to answer those.
The thing to me that really stands out is Quad on Lucian. He has been really exceptional just as an individual player in the last couple of weeks here, really melding with FlyQuest. But when you slam a Lucian into Corki, you also want a jungle that's really going to help this Lucian play aggressive in lane. That Lucian should get early push on Corki, should go for lots of harassing trades.
Yeah, yes and no, but at the same time, you're not really expecting Lillia to impact the Corki's lane matchup all that much. More of a fight around the grubs, fight around dragon kind of pick. So I think that they would be very happy right now just thinking this is going to be a one-on-one matchup. And what I will say is whilst Jojo and APA have like that X factor about themselves as players, I do think Quad just fundamentally is actually one of the strongest players right now in the league. He makes very few mistakes when you're watching the game from a mid lane perspective.
Well, Jojo definitely has made some mistakes, but looked pretty good himself. Nice sign. That is the widest sign that we have ever had in the LCS. They filled up the entire back row with wide Bwipo. And we're looking at some wide Bwipo picks pretty shortly here as they banned out his Scion, and they're safety banning the Camille. So that means he could go something safe like a Ksante. Camille has always been really good into that.
Yeah, I feel like we almost never see the Scion ban, but they're paying respect over to Bwipo on that one. Misfortune and Camille banned out by FlyQuest. The brand also removed here by C9 as their first pick of the second half will be the Zeri.
Yeah, and when you have Berserker on your team, Zeri becomes a very powerful pick. However, we did see in the LEC today that the Zeri was being used as a flex pick into top, into bottom lane, and both teams have kind of made Ksante very strong. And I know firsthand that Ksante versus Zeri is not a fun matchup, so I'm very interested to see what FlyQuest do here and whether this can remain a flex for Cloud9 or whether they're just going to give it back to Berserker.
Yeah, so far this is kind of my expected response from FlyQuest. Now is the question, is Thanatos a Merwin enjoyer? Let's see if they bring it all the way up. He's not.
No,
back to the Gnar, back to the Gnar. This is so much more standard for him and does give them some versatility. I am happy to see Inspired on this Taliyah, though. I feel like it is such a fun playmaking AP jungle. Doesn't have to really feed into like the Zyra and Lillia style there. There's a lot of CC on the FlyQuest bottom lane as well, where Massu and Busio, so we'll see if they can get anything done here as far as the setup.
All right, Coach, I'm putting you in the hot seat. Which one of these drafts would you prefer if it was your job to say, hey, I'm claiming one of these, we got to take one of these under the rift?
I mean, if it's my team, I'm giving Impact Ksante because that's what I always do.
Okay.
However, I will say that Cloud9 really has drafted towards their strengths. I would expect Cloud9 to feel very comfortable going into this game.
Berserker on Zeri, Jojo on.
It's early game. It's time to find out. We're on to the Rift for game 1 of C9 versus Fly.
And as we load onto the Rift, I want to just highlight how crucial this bottom lane is going to be. Because I think FlyQuest's one area of strength is going to be this AShe Leona lane. It should be uncontested in how strong it is early game. I'm just not sure FlyQuest fans would want all of the early game pressure to be on Massu and Busio to blow open the game through bottom lane.
So much playmaking there, so much setup for a Taliyah to visit and get a seismic shove as well back. Yep. I investigated this title of CEO of Full Clear for Inspired because I've always thought of Blaber as being one of our most efficient junglers as far as the LCS goes. And in fact, he is only one camp behind on average to Inspired as far as the total Full Clear numbers do go. Oh, dang, that was... Can we go back to that first one and we explain those numbers first real quick? That was a little quick on the swap. There we go. Okay, so while they do both have #1 and #2 in Full Clear potential, notice that Blaber actually has a lot more aggressive stats in his CS difference. So more counter jungling from him and slightly more K+A as well. So it does kind of feed into the story of Inspired, really good at power clearing, but doesn't put as much pressure on the enemies. We'll catch up on the current game state here, though, since Thanatos has been creeping, and there's a ward right there, so Quad should be fine.
Yeah, and it's going to be another lane swap coming out against Cloud9, so it looks like other teams in the LCS thinking this can be a way to shut them down. Thanatos going to cross into the bottom lane here, so not trying to get any experience against the AShe and Leona. That makes sense to me. Now the choice becomes up to FlyQuest. How do they want to do this? Do they want to swap this Leona back into the bottom lane and try and get Bwipo some experience? Or are they going to just be happy to trade each side of the map?
Yeah, looks like Thanatos is going to make his way down here right now. Unfortunately, the life of the top laner in the lane swap, you just sort of decide how you want to lollygag, where you want to sort of pass the time. Let's see what we've got from Blaber, though. Just continuing to clear through the jungle so far, as this wave is starting to get primed up pretty far. Busio will show up to make sure that Bwipo is not going to get forced away from this.
All right. They're going to try soak up as much experience for Bwipo as they can, and Thanatos is out. He'll do the same on the other side since they've revealed Busio is here. No threat of the big dive on the other side, so happy to soak as well.
Yeah, and now jungle is both on the correct side of Summoner's Rift to help with the turret dive if they want to go for it. You know, +1 in both areas. A Lillia is going to be down bottom. It's a 3v2. In saying that, I don't think you can dive a Leona plus Ksante. Meanwhile, top side, Gnar is just going to grab level 3 here quite easily and start building that Mega Gnar buff for his bounce back. So also probably pretty safe. Looks like a standard, boring lane swap game.
Just another day swapping lanes. Somewhere out there, Emily Rand is loving
whoever created this lane swap meta in NA. Very disappointed in them. Very, very disappointed in them.
You would have done such a thing.
You, not 6 minutes ago, we're talking about how much action we can create with lane swaps. Are you disappointed in these two teams with the non-action lane swaps where you had the
This is actually really cool. Massu's going to go for a base. They're holding the freeze, hoping that Vulcan and Berserker feel pressure to crash this lane. They don't, because otherwise there could have been a skirmish here. There's not going to be one, but there could have been. There was a potential, guys.
There almost was action in our lane swap. We got to be careful to avoid that.
And I do like the little wards that they had. They just had the ward inside lane down here that wasn't actually taken out by the control ward. Exactly. Thank you, observers. It was right there, and it was outside the vision of the control ward. Always nice to have that extra little bit of info. As far as the farming does go here towards mid lane, though, it has actually been quite good for Jojo. Yeah. Starting out. And there is the answer teleport coming from Quad. The further investigation of the junglers, by the way. I did not stop at full clears. Jungle proximity is always really fun, and it's always really interesting in talking about where they go. Look at this. Now, let me remind you, this is an 8-team league.
Yeah,
and we've got a ninth place jungle mid proximity in an 8-team league. That is how little he goes mid and has played around mid this split. That's because of Tomio, by the way, who was in the league, and so he's even got less mid jungle proximity than Tomio there.
And that's what I was saying on the desk. To me, it's more that Quad does inspire its job in the early game, whereas it is a lot of C9 going through this mid lane with Blaber, with Vulcan. Dash in.
Ooh, piercing light. Jojo tries to flash it, but the light slinger gets his shot. Quad gets first blood in the series.
Don't need no jungler. He'll do it himself. Quad again, impressing. My goodness, Flash is now also traded in mid lane, so you would definitely expect some further pressure.
And this is what I was saying. Quad is actually just such a solid player here. He knows how the matchup should go. Jojo's on his side of the lane, dashes forward over the Q, so he's going to win the damage trade here. And then Jojo just turns around and tries to extend the trade. Quad gets his second round of spell up, able to take him out.
Yeah, that is really disrespectful from Jojo there. Not paying attention for the short cooldowns for Lucian, being able to go back in, second round, flash for flash, takes him down. And this is maybe one of the reasons why he was actually very complimentary of Quad.
Yeah. I mean, you can see right there the quote on your screen. When I verse Quad, I can feel like his movement and his laning, and I'm sure Jojo felt that last one. The solo kill is not one that you're just walking away from, but it looks like we will get a first Drake uncontested here for C9.
And I would say first key success, however, achieved for FlyQuest, because they've been able to pick up the first 3 grubs. And I said this, playing against Cloud9 when they have grubs and they can pull that full court press on you is very, very obnoxious. However, taking that away, now denying some more farm away from this Gnar. If you want an under-farm champion in the game, it's Ksante. Ksante versus Gnar with 0 resources. Kasante's going to win every single time. So credit to FlyQuest on their game plan right now. Even though I didn't think their draft was going to be meant for a lane swap, they have done a very good job of it.
And they also, sometimes you play to the players. Bwipo has been really outspoken about thinking that Thanatos not very good at those lane swaps or playing with the team. Bwipo himself is going to be the one escaping here from under tower as Blaber puts him to sleep and doesn't want to let him out.
He's fine.
Yeah. Bwipo's just going to walk this one off. There was not nearly enough damage just from Blaber on the Lillia there. You can see all he has is the faded ashes, so easy enough for Bwipo to walk that one off as Quad puts a lot of bullets into Jojo here yet again.
Arrows coming. I see it on the mini-map, but does not hit Jojo.
If that would have hit, that would have been a 0-2 Corki.
And I honestly think that FlyQuest get another massive win here. So much of Lilia's early game power is based around her ultimate. To be able to live the first ultimate from Lillia, and now you can see 10 CS starting to stack up here as Inspired took the full topside jungle as well. This is looking like a game that Cloud9 are actually falling a little bit behind it.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of a rush on that play, like maybe thinking Braum was closer and could have followed up.
Very, very close race on that first turret kill. It was FlyQuest by a fraction of a second getting the first turret credit there in the top lane while Cloud9 took the tier 1 in the bottom side. So the lane swaps have mostly run their course now, I would have to think. We've got the turrets down on the sides.
Yes and no, Flowers, because I don't know whether you really want to fight this Cloud9 squad at the moment, although Lillia ult is down, so you might. However, I would not be surprised to see this Ashe just go bottom lane and try and take some more turrets down here. 131 started up by C9 to try and stop that from happening.
Yeah, next Ashe arrow cooldown, try and look for another pick here. Cloud9, of course, with Corki and Zeri, do have quite good opportunities later on into the game. So we'll see how much money they can actually get on them as they pull their swap now with Jojo being up on top side.
Really dangerous phase of the game for Jojo. He's just gone onto the weak side of the map. We know that there's vision all in the top side of C9's jungle, and he doesn't have flash available. So wouldn't be surprised if he slow pushes this wave and maybe even pulls Vulcan into his lane to get him to be able to crash this.
Yeah, we're looking at the minimap right now of Vulcan trying to retake that vision. Every time you have the lane swap with those towers going down opposite
Look at this,
sides.
he can't get the wave in. He's just losing CS right now. It's only the little things in League of Legends, but Jojo would be very uncomfortable on this side of the map because I don't know whether they know where Inspired is.
Honestly, too, with Vulcan having level 6 right now, that gets a little bit more defensible. He's trying to hover around behind him. They're still scared of the Leona ult that could come through. Jojo, I guarantee he's got his finger on the Valkyrie right now, just waiting to see if there is any sort of surprise.
And
everybody's coming up.
Everyone is drawn to this top side of the map to try and crash this wave. You can even see that Thanatos, who had a lot of pressure on that bottom side, look at Bwipo's condition, has had to recall. They want these grubs very badly.
Here we go. 30 seconds on the grubs coming up. Bwipo does not have teleport, so FlyQuest, keep your eyes on Bwipo. If he starts to walk, then they actually want to fight it. He's recalling now, so could go for the reset, buy some items fresh. and then walk his way up here. This could be an exciting one, Flowers.
Yeah, we've had a very quiet early game overall. The first 10 minutes, only the single solo kill in mid lane. 10 seconds until this second pod of grubs spawns. Remember that FlyQuest got all 3 of that first rotation. C9, all 5 players ready to stand and try to contest for this. The battle for vision is how we're going to start things off, with the first grub taking a little bit of damage. FlyQuest only needs to secure 1 of these if they want to be able to spawn the lesser number of the Void Mites. But right now they've got total control over the entire set. Cloud9 looks like they're just going to take the opportunity to try to crash the wave into the tier 1 turret mid instead, as all 6 grubs go to FlyQuest.
This controller right there does so much work. It allows Busio and Bwipo to just push them all the way off the grubs. They get their grubs, and yeah, Cloud9 try and push on mid lane, but get almost nothing out of this.
And I want to talk about why Cloud9 didn't fight there, because it does look peculiar to be in the zone. But on the side lanes, FlyQuest were actually losing CS, and Cloud9 needed to catch. If you lose that team fight, and both of those creep wave side lane die to the turrets, your game is pretty much over just based on experience. So Cloud9 make the smart choice. They say, we need to catch our sides. Let's just deny a little bit of CS, go up a little bit of gold, a little bit of experience, but give over the 6 grubs.
See how powerful that buff ends up being here, because FlyQuest definitely have a lot of map control with Ashe arrows and Taliyah wall.
Yeah.
A lot of pick potential here on the side of FlyQuest.
Looking at items coming through, at the moment, Quad has picked up his Blade of the Ruined King. This is the area that Corki starts to really struggle. He's pretty much full tank Corki right now. He's got the Phage, he's got himself boots too, but in the 1v1, he does not want to go anywhere near Lucian at the moment.
Second Drake has spawned. Remember that Cloud9 secured that first one, and they've got total control over the bottom side river here for number 2. Looks like FlyQuest has no interest in contesting this one either. So that's going to be the one area of the game where C9 does have themselves a nice little lead. The thing that I'm curious to see, Spawn, you talked about the efficacy of C9 using 6 grubs to pressure the enemy turrets to take over the rift. I want to see how well FlyQuest can use these 6 grubs that they've earned to put that pressure the other way.
Yeah, but unfortunately, just not all things are created equal, because the Lucian will have some pressure, but as you can see, C9 very happy to play towards Jojo's side of the matchup, and Ksante is never hitting a turret versus Gnar. You're never hitting mid-turret against Static Shiv, Zeri, so I just don't think the grubs are as useful.
I like what they are trying to do here, but they are going to get chased out of the jungle. The idea there for FlyQuest, use Quad's advantage in pushing on top side to invade that jungle, take away a little bit, and now he's going to swap to the bottom side so they can rush down some turret plate money here.
So this is the difference, though. C9, too aggressive in the top side on that retake, willing to use flashes, and Quad already got his wave out. Now he just teleports bot. This is when the grubs are going to be hugely impactful in the game.
There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Some value from the early grub priority of FlyQuest, and you've already seen 2 plates get knocked off of this tier 1 turret in the bottom lane, as Cloud9 going to send a little bit of manpower down that direction now as the wave crashes into the tier 1 turret for FlyQuest.
They're going straight for Quad right now. This game has been all about Quad so far. Him getting the solo kill onto Jojo, him getting the first item power spike, pushing out these side waves, getting these little advantages for FlyQuest. Looks like FlyQuest actually are going to drop some minions on top tower that Thanatos was just able to push in. Bwipo's a little bit slow in getting there, and that's one area that Cloud9 do have an advantage, is Thanatos with the extra level here on the Gnar over Bwipo. We'll see if that ends up being a really big thing. Thanatos is going for the Trinity Force build for the Gnar.
And I wonder, you know, when people say, if you could be a celebrity for a day, who would you want to be? I wonder if mid lane LCS has ever asked yourself, if I could be Jojopyun for a day, how would it be? I get escorted to every side wave. I get looked after in laning phase. Vulcan comes and gives me every single ward.
They didn't look after him well enough. He died 1v1.
And I'm sure he will have a stern talking to the support members of C9 for letting that happen. But this guy, he is so well looked after, and it makes sense because he's on Corki. His pick can carry this game if they get him to that 2-3 item power spike.
Meanwhile, let me remind you, the looking after that Quad gets is 9th jungle proximity.
Teleport away from my pushing lane.
Exactly. In an 8-team league, like he really does exert a lot of pressure, especially in this game. So see if FlyQuest finally can get their pick, though. That's the one thing that I've really been looking for to be the linchpin here with this composition. You've got Ashe, Leona, and Taliyah. Like, that should definitely be the makings of a pick. They've done a good job getting some of these outer towers down.
Wow.
I love this hard push.
Nicely done. They're going to take out the tier 1 turret. Blaber gets a nice sleep there, and Massu's got to be careful. Jojo coming in from the side, and Bwipo drops. FlyQuest in full retreat as Inspired throws out the wall to buy them a little bit of extra time. FlyQuest might have got the objective, but they lose their top laner in trade as C9 responds.
Yeah, but hashtag worth because they got the Herald at the same time, and the fact that they broke mid lane tier 1 without having to use Herald is a huge win right now for FlyQuest. Again, you just get Bwipo falling down. He's a tank. He's the one that's behind. Doesn't even use a flash. They got a cleanse out, and now Lillia doesn't have flash or ult for this third dragon fight, which I feel like Cloud9 have to win to be able to win this game.
Hashtag worth. What happened to the Jake that I know? That's the spot that I know. Oh, man. Miming on it. Honestly, let's see about this play for Blaber. He has no flash.
Inspired, sidestepping away from the bowling ball here as the immediate slam into the wall from Thanatos. Inspired, still trying to get himself away from this one, firing back a couple of rocks as the culling from Quad will take the health bars low. Bwipo makes his entry into the fight to lock up a couple of targets, but it ain't gonna matter because Quad's gonna be killed first as Bwipo picks up one. But FlyQuest is losing more men. Massu approaching from the side, but it's a 2v4 for FlyQuest. They put themselves into the grinder. It's a 1-for-1 trade there as at least they get something. Massu's trying to kite it, trying to fight it. Berserker shooting back, trying to find the zap, but it ain't gonna land. Massu still wants to be the hero in this moment, but it's so damn hard. Another shield goes up. The Unbreakable might just do it. Massu solo on HP. Berserker's trying to take him down, fires off another zap, but that one's not gonna hit either. Berserker and Cloud9 still chasing after the enemy AD carry. No. Masu's escape route will be blocked. Berserker goes on a killing spree, and an extended bloodbath in top lane favors Cloud9.
Yeah, that one was not hashtag worth for FlyQuest. A really good move from Cloud9. They all go topside, teleport up here, and even with this start to it, it actually looked like they were going to get a good jump, but if you look at the bot lane's movement up the river, the early arrival of the Cloud9 duo there just changes the whole story. And then by the time that Massu and Busio do get there, they're valiantly fighting, but too much has already been lost.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's actually very hard to dive into this C9 comp. And I think that Bwipo and Quad just went a little bit too aggressive, given the fact that C9's bottom lane was going to arrive first. With that kill, now means that this dragon fight probably cannot be contested.
Yeah, Cloud9's already got it down to about 2,000 HP. Jojo, clearly in the heat of the moment, he can't spell a damn word, but it's the heart that counts. And Jojo's talking his split.
Also, remember in the immortal words of Huhi, sometimes Berserker will get a random triple and then you just lose the game to Cloud9.
Yeah.
Berserker getting money is not a good thing for FlyQuest. 3 kills on this Zeri, 2-item power spike for him with the advantage.
Yeah, he's definitely really strong right now. And I think that actually what Jojo was talking about is the fact that Inspired doesn't have a Rift Herald. So he killed the Rift Herald, but he doesn't have a Rift Herald. So I'm confused where his Rift Herald is as well.
Yeah,
is it just on the floor?
So it either burned a hole in his pocket or it was left on the floor and never picked up in the first place.
Because I said the advantage of Bwipo dying for that mid-tier 1 is now you could use it to push 2 bottom turrets. But if you don't have the Herald, Kobe, you can't push the 2 bottom turrets.
Sometimes, you know, you kill the Herald and then you forget about the eyeball on the ground.
Yeah, it's just you get all caught up in the play, you get excited. Couple of things tend to slip past, but FlyQuest was feeling really good about the early game for a really long time, but then finally, after a very, very quiet game in terms of kills for the first 15 minutes, C9 is now feeling way better. They are on soul point. They are up 1,000 gold.
And they're the ones with Corki plus Zeri for later. Yeah. Like that is the warmest, snuggliest blanket that you can have here. Berserker on a fed Zeri. Going through the mid game, having Dragon Soul point, as you're saying, because they were the ones getting the bottom side objectives. When FlyQuest were getting those Void Grubs, Cloud9 stacking up the Dragons. This definitely seems to be like they will have the ability to draw FlyQuest to them, which is very, very bad for FlyQuest. Not very good to face check a Braum team. Not very good to face check a team with Gnar charged up either. So.
He left it on the ground.
Here's our investigation.
I didn't need that anyway, he says. And what I think that Kobe's exactly right, because, again, when Lucian was on his 1-item spike, he was the strongest member on the map. You needed to play around him, but you needed to win fights around Quad. And then C9 took 2 fights, and they won both fights. So now you have to say the scaling is well and truly online. If this Corki gets Muramana, then it just becomes very difficult to even play the 1v1 in the side lane. I do think that Cloud9 have very much regained control of this game.
Also, when FlyQuest find themselves having to come face check around these dragons, they're going to eat rocket after rocket after rocket. You get poked out, you don't have a lot of time, so they're going to have to be very quick with their Leona ultimate and AShe arrow and just immediately full send go. But then you're full sending into a team with Braum, so...
Braum, Lillia.
Definitely...
Very difficult to send into that team, I will say.
At this point, it is just like, from the team comp that you chose, it becomes pretty difficult here, and that's why you're emphasizing the opportunities that they really needed to take a little bit earlier in the game.
Because when you look at Taliyah, she's got a global ultimate. She wants to make the map big. That's why having the 6 Void Grubs on the FlyQuest side is so important. That's what we were expecting to see, a lot of side lane skirmishes. However, Cloud9 have made this now about the objectives. They've got themselves the sole point, so now FlyQuest do have to come and fight eventually.
And look what FlyQuest have been doing now. They have Busio hovering quad so they can push out the wave on top side and still try and get that one pushing one. So then you get a little like 30 seconds movement timer here to look and sniff around, see if they could get anything with their possible pick combination. But good defensive warding from Cloud9 and Cloud9 not overextending. This AShe arrow feels like a very, very long reach there. It's like
that's one way to put it.
That's a Hail Mary. That's a hope and a prayer.
Okay, I'm being nice, but that's a cleanse flash Zeri, who has her own movement too. Like,
yeah, and with the arrow flying over the creep waves, that has more chance of hitting flowers on the caster desk than it does in hitting Berserker on mid lane wave.
It's pretty hopeful, but they're not going to find anything from it. Meanwhile, bottom side, that tier 1 will finally be taken out. So FlyQuest, they do have an advantage in terms of turrets, right? 3-1 as for what's taken by Cloud9, but it's under 60 seconds now on this Drake.
Yeah.
C9.
This could be it. This could be the trap.
Yeah, they're going in after Bwipo. He's going to try to survive it as long as he can. He flashes away, surviving with 50 HP. Bwipo lives through it critically.
But FlyQuest don't actually get a good, counterplay off that. There's no trap or anything. The damage has been done. Bwipo's basically out of the fight, and Blaber was close enough to be able to follow. So Cloud9, their damage was quick enough and focused enough that even with the extra information from the ward, here we go, though, Vulcan!
We're not done yet, because Vulcan's in a bad spot. He got caught. A little bit more damage will finish him off as Busio gets the kill credit, and now Blaber will be eliminated by Bwipo's All Out. C9 scrambling to try to bring the fight back as Massu puts a couple more arrows into Thanatos. Bwipo's going to continue his retreat. He wants to keep running all the way back down into the bottom lane, but surely with no flash, this will be the end of the Ksante. One last wallop into a rocket from Jojo gets it done. Both junglers are dead. The Drake is alive.
Yeah, the Drake's not going to be alive for long, though, Flowers. That's Dragon's Soul at the fingertips of Cloud9. Should be effortless for them to grab this one, and that is going to cause some problems. The extra mobility here actually will be meaningful.
And you can actually see the desperation starting to come out from FlyQuest, because this is the perfect start to the fight. It's going to be a face check from the Braum, who is supposed to absorb all of the damage, and he goes down pretty much immediately. However, there is just so much X factor on this C9 comp. You can see that Blaber gets in, gets a 3-person sleep, Berserker untouched, Jojo untouched, just so much damage coming out of these carries.
Yeah, Jojo going in there, chunking out quads. So now the Lucian chunked out of the fight. They can't fight it, and Cloud9 make the call, just chase down Bwipo. This time they'll be able to get him. Then they get the rewards of the Cloud Soul. Now,
we ain't done yet. Busio leading the charge for FlyQuest as Jojo goes straight for the carries on the other side. C9 now retreating away from the culling as Quad provides an escape route for the FlyQuest players.
And that's pretty much another 4v5. Blaber's just in his jungle, like hitting his red buff the whole time that's happening. You can see that FlyQuest believe that if they don't win the game right now on these item spikes, that they are just going to get outscaled.
Yep, gets worse and worse. Cloud9, though, don't seem like they're giving anything up just yet. Jojo still has Flash. Berserker has Flash and Cleanse. Like, these carries for Cloud9 are so incredibly safe at the moment. One thing in particular I liked in Jojo's series that he played against you guys, Spawn, was he baited you a lot. When he was playing the Zeri and he had his flash up, he would play so aggressively, drawing your players in and then being able to flash away. But it was more of an offensive use of the flash in the way that he was able to bait people in, thinking that they would be able to kill him. Now I feel like Cloud9 are in that position again, where he and Berserker can just play so aggressively with the freedom of their extra escapes.
I couldn't agree more. I think that right now, with the fact that they've both got Flash and Cleanse up, and they are so strong that you have to hit them back, otherwise you automatically lose, they can very much suck you into a fight. And that's where Braum, that's where Lillia are going to start to shine. Also, the fact that now Thanatos is just going to run over the side lane. Like, the good times of the lane swap are done right now for FlyQuest, although Bwipo goes all out.
Yeah, Bwipo's gonna try this fight. He's got Inspired coming in to help him. The arrow from Massu from all the way away does not hit its mark. And considering the resources invested, considering the jungler and the ulti from the AD carry of FlyQuest were sent bottom lane, it's C9 onto the Baron. It's got 4,000 HP left. Busio, Quad, and Massu coming in trying to fight these guys away from it. Vulcan nearly dies, but he gets back to safety as Blaber secures the Baron, and Thanatos escapes with a blast cone. Busio's low, but the rest of FlyQuest might still be looking for something. They won't find a thing. C9 gets the Baron, and they get everybody out alive.
That's that desperation you see in action. They're like, oh man, we're not going to be able to face check. We're not going to be able to fight them straight up. Just send everything. Try and get a pick on the side lane. Throw the Ashe arrow. Throw the Taliyah ultimate. But they don't get the pick, and they also lose the Baron. The worst of both worlds. Honestly, FlyQuest probably already starting to think about the next game in this series.
Absolutely agree. And I think that this is such a crucial game for Cloud9 to win, because people have been saying they're just the early game team. They run over you with their gold lead, but the early game didn't go great for Cloud9 this time around. However, they've really battened down the hatches and scaled terrifically into this game, and they have absorbed every aggressive play that FlyQuest have thrown at them. They've just looked like the better team in this game one.
And I mean, we talk a lot about these Cloud9 early game leads and how up against you guys, it was the first time we didn't see them run away with a huge one early on. The gold this game has been so close for the entirety of these first 25 minutes. I do believe this is the first time we've even seen the difference break 2,000 one way or the other. But Cloud9 does feel so firmly in control right now. Jojo, again, nice sidestep, just getting out of the way of the arrows. Feels like Massu has not got a whole lot of payoff from these so far.
Yeah, you can see how quickly Berserker now races towards that bottom lane. They know that with the top lane pushing, someone has to answer it from FlyQuest. So right now, C9 can play bottom side of the map and really break open the game. A pick here could actually be GG.
C9 is not afraid to see if they can find it. They're placing down the vision. They're grouping up for this bottom lane push. Berserker's got all the firepower in the world, and the whole crew is ready to back him up. Tier 2 turret falls here in the bottom lane. That is the 4th turret taken this game for Cloud9. They are finally ahead of FlyQuest in that count.
And gentlemen, a massive amount of restraint shown from Cloud9, because I think they're stronger. It looked like FlyQuest were challenging them. It looked like Quad was on top side of the map. He would have had to have teleported in. However, Cloud9, they just know they're winning. They will just win it slowly this time around.
And it almost feels like Cloud9, you know, picking a kind of not Cloud9 composition, and the fact that they want to be the ones scaling harder. They want to hammer this lesson home to FlyQuest and just show them how methodical they can be and how much they can beat them without the winning lanes. So they're going to take their time. They are going to relax with it. They get their reset off. I think this is actually pretty big too. Berserker has the cleanse, and so now Jojo also has the QSS. So both of them have multiple escapes here for the Cloud9 carries. And they're really trying to hammer that home to FlyQuest, how little options they actually do have to them.
C9's grip on the game is tightening, and FlyQuest is struggling to hold on to anything on this rift. You can see the Dragon, the Elder, spawning in under 45 seconds now, and it's C9 that are slowly picking these objectives off the map, making it darker, making that fog of war all the scarier for FlyQuest to try to check into.
And just look how solid they are. This is why they didn't go for the aggressive fight. They want their summoners available for the Elder. Now they teleport onto the map. They're going to have that mid lane push. Now, FlyQuest, they have to choose. Can we go through bottom lane? Can Cloud9 race to end the game while we are setting up for the Elder? This puts you in a very tricky situation to be so far away from your base with an objective spawning, but so many Fed members on Cloud9 could just end it here.
All right, pressure under the tier 3 turret in mid. Arrow flies through. That one's finally going to connect, but what does it even mean? It doesn't give them anything.
They're rushing Elder. They're teleporting to Elder. They want to burn it.
For FlyQuest's side. Inspired starting it up, but it's not like the thing's taking any meaningful damage here just yet. FlyQuest are going to call it off and scatter a little bit as C9 approach as a 5-man unit. Blaber is now going to engage the Drake himself as FlyQuest are still looking for an angle. They know they can't allow the Elder to go over. Busio the target here for the engage. He's just going to get destroyed by Berserker. C9 with a 5v4 as Inspired is isolated from the rest of the team, and Bwipo's trying to make some space for him. The Elder's not even the focus anymore as Bwipo tries to escape. Inspired's wall won't do a whole lot as Quad goes for the calling, but it's mostly blocked by Vulcan. Blaber's found his way onto Massu as Quad drops, and Berserker is unstoppable. A double kill for the Zeri. It's about to be even more, making a triple. Dread it, run from it. Berserker Zeri arrives all the same, and he's bringing the whole Cloud9 party wagon with him.
That's gonna be a C9 dub in game number 1 here. FlyQuest will have to reevaluate and bounce back in the next one, because Cloud9, this is now just a victory march down mid lane.
And the way that they did it, the way that they've been able to pick up this game 1 is so unlike Cloud9. Such an impressive showing to just control the game.
It was slow, it was patient, it was controlled, and it was exactly what they needed to go up 1-0 in this series. Cloud9 takes game 1.
I think we will be looking at that fight that started in top lane after we came back from the replay of the force that FlyQuest did getting mid tower and losing Bwipo for it. That fight in the top lane, and in fact, it was the bottom lane of Cloud9 getting there first that really turned the tides. You know, big stuff from Berserker and Vulcan getting there, but also whoever made that call for Cloud9, because from that point, that gave them the item breakpoints to win their team fight. That gave them the confidence here to be able to fully scale this game out. Nicely done from C9.
I also think that FlyQuest need to take a look at top lane, because even though the lane swap went very well, as soon as Thanatos got into the mid game and they had control over the side lane wave, you could see that Bwipo and Inspire just got more and more desperate as the lane progressed. I think that this C9 team, when they do have that side lane push, their decision making is very crisp.
Yeah, and they didn't need any